is open up the Zoom room. And by doing that, all you need to do is touch anywhere on the screen. And the system will open up. While it's booting, you will see the TVs in the room turn on. You'll hear a little whirring sound because the little cameras about the room, there's one up there, will turn around because they are engaging. They're not exactly remote or getting ready. The next thing you will do is hit join, this plus button in the middle of the screen. To join a particular meeting or webinar, you will need to have access to the webinar ID and the meeting passcode that will be found on the agenda. So in this case, I will enter the code that I have. You have to be very careful, go slow, and make sure you're looking as you're pressing, because this is kind of touchy, and you want to make sure that you get the numbers exactly as they appear on the agenda. Now it's asking for the passcode. So because this was a webinar and I sent the schoolhouse is recording in progress.
Hi, Patty.
Hi, Steve.
Is the meeting happening tonight?
You know, I don't know. Wait, hold on.
Sorry. I can't hear you.
I am in the schoolhouse, and we do have power.
You have power in the
I know
schoolhouse?
a lot of Patrol Valley does not have power, so. And I can't get the Zoom in the schoolhouse to work, so I don't know. I'm
All right,
waiting for
well-
John Myers to see if we can make an executive decision here.
It's hard to hear you. It's distorted if you come closer to the microphone. But I think you're saying the schoolhouse has power.
Are you
And
still there?
If the meeting's going on, I'll come down.
Are you, still there, Steve?
What?
Steve?
Yes.
Are you there?
I am. Can you see me?
I can't hear you. Scary. I can't hear
The
you.
power is out.
Can't hear you.
You can't?
Can't hear
I'm
you.
definitely talking. I think it's on your side.
Can't hear you.
Um, All right, I'll come back. I'll come back.
Hello? Well, I don't know if we're gonna have it yet. I don't know, well, we have power obviously in here.
My internet's out, so I wanted.
And I know, you know, a lot of people around town do not have internet, and I just feel badly if people can't weigh in.
But then they could come here though. I don't understand why.
How? Because people don't come, you live close, you just walk down here. I drove. I drove.
Where's John?
Well, John is supposed to be here. I thought, but maybe between the two of us, we could make an executive.
Yeah, you won't have a quorum if the rest don't show up.
That's true. We will not have a quorum.
You have 6 people, is that right? There's 6.
We have 6.
And you have to have 4.
I have to have 4.
Doesn't look good.
But Lindsay is kind of waiting for me to say, are you having a meeting?
You should say there are community members.
But the room Zoom isn't working, so I can't get these. They must have, the power must have gone out, so they have to be reset.
Oh.
And I have no idea how to do that.
I can call my son.
Steve, we still can't hear you. Are you,
How about now?
can't hear you,
You
Steve.
can't hear me now? That's very strange. All
Can't
right,
hear
I'll
you.
try. I'll try
Steve
calling
Levin's
you.
on the Zoom and I can't hear him.
That's weird. I can hear
I guess
you.
we could- well, we can't vote because we don't have a quorum. Anybody want to be an honorary Parks and Rec Committee member? We could take a vote.
We can do that. I feel like I practically. Is this the government?
What? I know, but that's the room Zoom that I can't get working. So I don't know if the microphones would even work.
Oh, probably not. No.
Diane, can you hear us? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Our power is on. My power's on.
I can hear you.
You can tell the grid is working.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
He said he couldn't tell because without internet, we don't really know if that's a. Oh, this is on a cell. Yeah. It's on a cellular. Although once you're on the cellular, yeah, you don't have cell. Oh, but once your power is back on, you can log in.
Diane, can you hear me now? Diane?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. We're trying to figure out if we're actually going to have the meeting.
It would be nice to have the romance. Just yesterday there were these 2 players that showed up. So that we showed them how to set up them. Monday. And so Hope and I had to show we set up the next one. We can say how we done the next one. Not the other. Tall. Yeah, he said he altered his state. But it's, that's the thing is that, you know, they're just not letting the tennis part on our. We always set up the people. So, yeah, we're having to roll it. Well, that's what, you know, kind of gone before. Nobody ever moved. Already 70%. Lead, take 2 boards together. I want to start on Thursday. Carolyn has this. So that's why we don't email says that we should.
Right. Because that
Yeah. 3 hours. So you don't want me to ask for anything for this. I'm sorry. So that's what caused the whole. It was not, it was. So much exclusively. So a resident. Because the Tom does it, and I do mine, that does it, they took 6 months in advance. It's booked.
So,
Right here, the same thing. So you know. And then you have to use that, and they don't know, and they don't know about that. And also, maybe they should make it like, oh, I know, so you can come in. No, no, reservation. No, I just, that's exclusive. Why? But the law is for it. So.
Oh, there's no heat here.
Patty,
Yes,
Patty, this is Steve. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Steve. Yes.
Good. I dialed in. Dialed in. Well, let me know if the meeting is happening. I'll drive down.
yes, we have lights. I was gonna say, we could just do it at our house.
Always see you sitting around with a beer with the bridge and snorkels. Now, I see you in your other job. Your official capacity here. It's awesome.
So we have 3. What do you think, John? I mean, do we have a meeting? I mean, most Portola Valley doesn't have power. Okay.
Is it, I was wondering if we can pull, because it's supposed to be.
But we don't have a quorum. We don't have a quorum yet, so.
Yeah.
We need one more. You want to join Parks and Rec? I'll sign you up right now. That's how you got on the softball team.
I just been in the library because there's power there.
We don't. I mean.
Go ahead, are you calling? Are you good with tomorrow night with that one slide that?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I haven't figured out tomorrow night yet. I'm trying to get through tonight.
Okay. Should we do every other?
It doesn't matter, you can spread out or not.
My phone's gonna die here in a minute. Does anybody have a,
Yeah, I do.
I was charging my phone in the library. What do you need?
I can't get the Zoom in the room to work.
Who do you need to?
It looks like it, you know, it has to be reset and I don't know. I mean, I need a power cord.
But I don't have a power cord for that
You
computer.
do? Okay. All right.
I have, do you want to use my computer? I have a.
No, my computer's fine. It's my phone. My phone's
Is your
gonna die.
phone, I have a power code for, is it an iPhone?
Yeah.
Oh,
We can, but then the people in the room can't see anything. They can't. There's gonna be nothing for them to look at. Whatever's we see on the screen.
So you do have yours zoomed in.
do you have a?
No,
plug?
we're zoomed in on this, but I can't get zoomed in on the room.
You need the plug.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I don't know if they need.
Well, we still don't have a quorum, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, they can also.
But where's the, oh, here we go.
Sorry, everybody, we're trying to figure something out.
Okay, you're charging now.
We need one more for a quorum and we can't get the Zoom in the room to work. So
Just do the cable towards the.
I have no idea. You're the, we would need a cable.
We need either Lindsay or Karen. Is there anybody
Or
else? Or
David.
David Bale. But they said they were coming, right?
Yeah, they did, but they're probably sitting, they're sitting in the, they're probably sitting in their homes with no power.
Why do you think the meeting room Zoom isn't working? Patty, can you hear me?
No, I don't. I only have her email.
See if you can call Dave Bailey. Or Carrie said she'd be here, yeah.
I only have her.
Patty, can you hear me?
Is that loud?
Yes, I can hear you, Jay.
It looks to me like the Portola Valley meeting room is on Zoom.
She doesn't have power at much.
Oh, can you, well,
I'll text them.
but people in the room can't see anything.
Ah, okay.
I'm just explaining to people online. Geez,
Got it.
trying to communicate here.
I don't know. You take on, you get everything done.
I know, that's a good idea, but, do you have Dave's?
Yeah.
Everybody, please, we're trying to see if we can get a quorum so we can keep moving. Thank you for your patience. At least we have heat. We have light. Hey, hey Dave, we have a quorum.
All right.
Yeah, they're very excited.
Thank you for coming.
Do you want to run this? You're in the driver's seat then? Okay, thank you everybody for waiting. For those of us in the room, we don't have the Zoom working, so you're just gonna have to trust us. If you want to see anything, you can come look over my shoulder. For those online, we have about 6 people in the room, plus we do have a quorum on the Parks and Rec, so we are going to get the meeting started. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:35. Okay. Sorry, I need to get organized here. I wasn't actually anticipating that we'd have a meeting tonight. Okay. Do we have any oral communications from anybody online or in the room for anything not on the agenda?
Patty, I'm sorry, do I need to do roll call? Is that?
I just did. Dave, Karen, John, Patty. Oral communications going once, going twice. Anybody online? Okay. Moving on, approval of minutes, Tuesday, January 17th, 7:30. Any comments on previous meetings minutes?
I don't have any, but I was supposed to, I don't know, I thought we were supposed to ask public first.
Tuesday, that's.
Anybody got any comments on the minutes? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion to approve, second, all in favor? Unanimous vote on minutes. Okay. Moving to new business. I wanted to bring up committee membership. Last October, we got an application from someone to join the Parks and Rec Committee. She was a resident of Ladera. I was told at that time that by the town that Ladera residents are not eligible to be on committees. Then her name showed up on the town council agenda to be approved for the Parks and Rec. I asked for her name to be withdrawn so that we could discuss it as a committee. Later, I confirmed with Jeremy that it's really up to the committee. And that we can choose to have Ladera residents on the committee if we so choose, if I can be redundant. So I guess the question of the committee is, do you feel comfortable having Ladera residents on the committee?
The question I have is.
The microphones are working.
So the question I have, and I think I asked this before, is do we have a limit on the number of members on the committee, and do we want an ideal number?
solving that issue first.
Right now, we have a limit of 7. We can break it, we can raise it at any time with town council approval.
Reduced down to 13, and the reason is because the official rules are a quorum is half of the number that is in charter. Right, so when you have 13, you need to have 7 people there. We only had 7 people on the committee, so we reduced it down to 7. All we need to do is take it back to the town council.
I'm sorry, people online, I just want to let them know that the microphones are not working, so that's why you're not hearing our communication.
Can you hear us though, as we're talking?
You'd need to speak into my laptop.
Oh, yeah, we can.
You want to do that?
Well, we can have this discussion.
Okay. Okay, okay,
Yeah, let's push it.
okay, let's push it, okay. We are pushing committee membership until another time, okay. We're gonna move right to pickleball, because I think that's why people are here, unless you just want to have some place with power and heat. No, okay. So I do actually want to communicate some good news on the pickleball front. I got confirmation from Howard, wait for it. The pickleball nets are here. They're actually sitting in the town hall. So that is so exciting. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that's excited, but I'll work with Howard to find out what kind of christening ceremony we need to have, but they are imminently ready to roll out on the courts. So that is great news. Thank you all for waiting. Okay, on the town, there has been a proposal. What has happened is in the last couple months or so, I think people have noticed that usage of the courts has grown dramatically. And that the old kind of way of reserving and just showing up, or not reserving and showing up, doesn't really work. And that we really have a challenge to balance the needs of our community, all of our community, the pickleball players, the tennis players, the basketball players, people that just show up on all sports court to play. And we only have 3 courts, so it's a limited resource and we have to figure out how to do it. So it became apparent that we need to update our policies, our town court policies. I worked very closely with Cindy Rowe on this. I know there was a couple of emails that I got that asked that we get input from the community, which we have done. Cindy, thank you very much for your help. And I know Cindy worked with her community as well to put some of these guidelines together. So I'm going to go over it just very, very briefly, high level. Then I will ask for committee comments or questions. Then I will open up to the public for comments, questions, and then we'll pull it back to the committee. We may or may not take a vote tonight. It depends on kind of, I think, how the conversation goes, and that will be up to the committee. I do want to remind people that whatever we decide has to go to town council for approval. So, and I am tentatively on their agenda for April 12th. So that gives us a little, that was the first time I could get in with March being taken by all the housing element stuff. So that gives us some flexibility that if we have to come back to next month's meeting, make any provisions we can. Okay. In that regard, what is kind of on the table is, hey, there's Lindsay. Wow, we really have a quorum now.
Yeah.
Party, get the party started. We really are working towards a way to prioritize a group on a court to give them kind of access to that court when they need it, whether it's by reservation or whether it's by drop-in. So the proposal we have before you today is the court 1, which is the court closest to the maintenance shed, would be a priority pickleball court. And that only reservations and drop-in play for pickleball could be used on that court. There would be no tennis on that court. Except CMS, Tracy, I see you out there, but there would be, for regular play, there would be no tennis on court one. It would be pickleball. And that we would use rolling pickleball nets on court one. Court two would be priority tennis. Only full court could be reserved, and it could only accept tennis reservations. And court three for all sports would be forever, for everybody. Now, drop-in play could be made at any time if the court is not being used for any reason. So if court number two is not being used for tennis, and people want to roll out the temporary pickleball nets and play pickleball on it, that's great. But as soon as somebody with a tennis reservation or wants to play tennis on that court shows up, they have priority. Pickleballers must vacate the court. Okay, I want to make that clear. For court number one, we are proposing that only courts A and B be open for reservations. And I will modify the reservation system so that you can reserve a single pickleball court at a time. So you could reserve 1A and 1B, or you could reserve 1C or 1D. It doesn't matter. A and B would be open for reservations. C and D would be open play at all time. And open play is defined by the paddle rack system, which I've defined or outlined on the policy. I know it's a lot of information. We are proposing that only residents can make reservations. That means that we would ask for people's address on the SCADA system, and they would have a tag that would allow them to make reservation. That doesn't mean a non-resident can't play. They can play. They can play with the resident, or they can play drop-in, but they can't reserve. I'm proposing that the reservations will open the 15th of the month for the following month, and you can only reserve 1 month ahead of time. So we don't have these people who reserve, courts for 6 months in advance. If people have special needs, like special events for pickleball, a potluck, or league play or something like that, they can request a special reservation with the SCADA system administrator, which will be me for the time being. Resident may only make 2 reservations a week. Now, when somebody reserving the pickleball courts 9 a.m. every morning of the week, that's not equitable play for everybody, at least in my opinion. I think there's some other things on here. Did I miss anything big? They go through the things.
Can you clarify the reservation available 2 hours only?
Oh, that's right. Right. Reservations may only be made for a 2-hour maximum. At any time. And only between 9 and 11.
Weekdays and weekends.
Yes.
We can't reserve it. Actually, that's what I didn't understand. You can't reserve it at between 4 and 6, or when most people are playing.
Not pickleball, no. You can change that.
What is the reason for that?
Just keep open play as much as possible. It can be changed.
Last question.
I'm sorry, that's kind of a rough outline. I don't think I wanted to bring anything else up.
Tennis court have any reservation?
The all sports court?
The tennis court was it?
Yes, the tennis court reserved by tennis players at any time. For 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
But then not 9 to 11.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Let me open it up to the committee. We've already had some questions or comments. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Well, do you have any questions?
I had a lot of questions. Can they hear us though?
I don't know. Can you,
No.
Diana, can you hear John if he's talking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear.
This seems very restrictive to me, so I just wanted to, I'm not sure this is sufficient for either pickleball or tennis, because you guys show up with like, 20, 30 people. Right, and and you do it mostly late afternoon or maybe weekends and mornings. It feels like you would need it a lot more than this. Because this is basically saying, as far as I can tell, that it's going to be wide open for drop-ins almost all the time, but you would only be able to, you'd only be able to reserve it between 9 and 11 in the mornings. So you wouldn't be reserving it in the late afternoon. Is that sufficient? Yeah.
Well,
I guess I'm asking you that.
if technically, we're just supposed to have the conversation on the committee at this point.
Okay.
So yes, there would only be reservations for pickleball allowed between 9 and 11 a.m. in the morning, the way it's currently written.
Do we know how the do we have any data that shows what time of day people are making reservations and when they're used most?
Mornings, yes, we do. Mornings are heaviest usage. Weekdays and weekends. There's a lot of reservations midday, mostly right now for league play.
And do the leagues go through and sign up through the facilities form?
No. I think that's another thing that we have to think about is how to manage the league play more effectively. Because this would, part of the reason the leagues are signing up here is because they can play forever. Right? And so what we're thinking is we don't want the leagues to tie up the courts for people, who would otherwise use the courts.
Well, I'm just thinking about soccer or softball, and there's the league signs up and has a.
Yes. We have not done that. We have not done that in pickleball.
For a time period when they use the facilities.
Correct. Yeah, we haven't done that.
And to put that on.
Yep. Other questions from the committee?
That was the real question was how do we embrace pickleball leagues like we embrace soccer leagues and softball leagues, baseball leagues,
Okay. Yeah.
allow them, like soccer leagues have pretty great access to fields, so,
Right. Okay. So the question, yeah, the question is how do we kind of manage the pickleball leagues the same way we manage field use fees and things like that, which is not covered in this policy, but
right, like we're gonna charge them per player race. Court/field access.
yeah. Yeah.
All the other fault.
So I would like to take that off right if we could and separate that from this policy, but I acknowledge that it's something that we have to look at.
Yeah, I guess one question that I have, and I think that residents should have a priority. So I know we're saying in this proposal that they can only make the reservations. And I just don't know if, I don't know in terms of the level of how many players, what percentage of them right now are residents and non-residents. If the majority of them are residents, it seems okay. The majority of the players are non-residents. We need to look at that.
Yeah, I think Cindy, you had that data.
Yeah, we're still more than 50%, but it's lower than it was 6 months ago. So 6 months ago, we were at 70% residents, and now we're closer to 60, 55, 60.
But that's because they brought a lot of leagues in as well.
Both partially and partially.
Yeah. 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 Right.
Is there a way to put all play, oh, and I'm only used to the Alpine court reservation system, and I don't know how Menlo Park does it, or Ladera Rec, or anything else, so it would be good to kind of know how other facilities are doing that.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you could put all the players on the reservation. Alpine asks for that when you make the court reservation. So when you're making it, you really have a real game going on instead of just blocking off the court.
Actually, you can kind of block it off at Alpine.
Well, that's true. There is a way around it.
Yeah, you put it yourself, put it in as practice.
Yeah.
Or as doubles.
Yeah.
And then have a whole court.
Okay.
Other questions from the committee?
You want to make sports court reservable?
I can't hear you, Dave.
Why would we not make the sports court reservable?
Why would we not make the sports court
Reservable. Like, it's
Reservable?
almost like I want to pick a basketball game.
for basketball? We could.
And then we pay tickets. So it's like a half court game.
It
Good.
feels like another thing we should put on an agenda item, because it's, I think with the big issue right now is just tennis versus pickleball, right? And those, most of those two courts. And how we use the reservation system, right? And so I don't think there's much of a conflict yet.
We do get into, not that it really matters, but we do get into an extra charge. Schedule allows us 5 space like reservations now. So that'd be 4 pickleball courts plus a tennis court. Minute you go for 5, they start charging you more. It's not a reason not to do it, but it's just FYI. And nickel and dime you.
I actually think the structure of this may be right, that you have drop-in, you have reservations. There are certain times when you just leave for open court time and other times when you can make reservations. So what I would recommend we do is get all the feedback, right, including particularly from the pickleball and the tennis community, and say what works for them, or ultimately try to come to something that says this many hours, or this many courts during particularly these high usage hours versus not, et cetera, and try to get something that we can get kind of agreement from everybody on, right? But again, that's the thing, the structure is here, but I wouldn't be able to say, let's do this, because it says you can only reserve the courts from 9 to 11 in the morning. And I think the courts need to be reserved in the afternoon.
That's for pickleball. Tennis can be reserved at any time.
At one court.
Court number 2 can be reserved at any time. Only pickleball is reserved between 9 and 11.
And they courts on tennis court.
Correct.
Is that, and that's for Monday through Sunday, that's not Monday through Fridays, 9 to 11, and weekends is something different?
No, it's 9, 11 every day.
Why wouldn't you have the tennis pickleball courts? Why tennis is reserved and pickleball is not?
Because we want as much open play on pickleball as possible.
So if somebody shows up to play tennis, they get the court.
On court 2, yes.
Unless someone calls for the reservation, the tennis reservation.
Not a tennis player, not a pickleball. Okay.
Just a proposal. Okay. All right, so I think we're ready to open it up for public comments.
I
If
have
you're
a few.
online, please raise your hand. Can you raise hand below? Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm getting
Okay, hold on a sec. Is there anybody in the room that wants to make a comment?
I don't know how to raise a hand here.
I know, we'll get to you. Okay. You want to come on up? You might have to, I don't know if they can hear you. You might have to come.
Sure.
You state your name.
Hi.
So my question is because court one is open for pickleball, are they gonna do anything to the nets?
The tennis nets.
Oh, no, we weren't thinking of it. We were thinking of leaving it there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Everybody get that? We're leaving the tennis court on court one. Any other comments from, go ahead.
Heather, Kathleen Richards. So to elaborate a little bit on that, you could have a situation where court two and court one are reserved for tennis at the same time.
Court one can never be reserved for tennis. Court two can never be reserved for pickleball.
So court two will never have pickleball players on.
Court one will, court two could have pickleball players on it if it's open.
Right.
But as soon as a tennis player shows up with a reservation or whatever, they take pickleball off. But if the tennis court is open, the court two is open all afternoon and pickleball players want to play on it.
But if we show up and court two and court one are both open, and we want to play two separate tennis matches, then court two and court one, we cannot play the court one.
You could play on court one until pickleball players show up.
Okay.
So drop in anytime until a priority group
Yeah.
has a reservation or shows up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, court one is still available.
You can still play tennis on court one.
I think that's-
Pickleball players will kick you out as soon as they get there, but then you could move to court two.
Without reservation.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like I see Tracy here, I want to make sure that people know we're still allowing and having the CMS tennis team play on both courts,
That's very important.
court one and two, on their schedule from March to mid-April from 3:30 to 5, roughly.
When does that start in March?
Hmm?
When does it start in March?
When does it start? When does it start?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tracy, go ahead.
March 13th.
March 13th.
Yeah. Although the 13th and 14th, it'll be at Alpine. So it'll really start at Town Center on the 15th.
Okay, and when does it go? When is the last day, April?
That depends on the scheduling of the matches, but usually around May 12th is when it ends.
Okay, so we are still, so courts one and two in the afternoon, between 3:30 and 5 roughly for that time, are reserved for tennis for CMS.
So CMS tennis and other special entities, English for tennis, course, one.
Yeah. Yes,
Well, because you can't reserve tennis on court one.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah,
actually, I think like the fifth bullet down here, right? I think this is what you need. PD Parks and Recreation, Class and Clinics, CMS, and other town approved uses have priority and will be scheduled by the system administrator. That's, I think, what Court Minera.
Okay. All right, did I get your comments?
Yeah, I think that maybe you already clarified this, but just so I can understand it correctly as well for our education system. Because we experience a lot of times that it seems like pickleball has both courts wrapped up all the time, all day, on weekends. And I think this will eliminate that because court two is a priority tennis court, so we can show up any time.
Correct.
And the reservation system right now is still just limited to 2 hours? Or previously it was longer than that?
Previously it was longer.
Yeah.
We will limit it to 2 hours.
Yeah, I was just looking at the calendar, even just this past weekend, pickleball had football Saturday.
Yeah. No, that will not,
3 hours and then 2 hours after that.
Yeah.
And in April, you know.
That will not happen.
You can't play tennis.
That will not happen.
Yeah, we like to play tennis, so.
Yeah.
Very-
Okay, I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna switch back and forth here, if you don't mind. Does someone have a question?
I have a question. How early before you show up, you need to make a reservation? So if there's somebody goes down and plays tennis starting at 2, and I just show up at 2:15 and check them off?
Yeah, how far in advance should the reservation be made? I think that's the question.
So, you know.
Well, you can make them you can make them that morning if the court is free.
Yeah, well, I mean. Let's see, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, oh, there's nobody on that court. Let me go play tennis. There's no reservation listed. But then it's like come down to 2:05. And they say, oh, I'm a tennis player. I made a reservation at 1:55, which you couldn't see.
I don't know. I'll let you guys figure that out. I don't know.
I think it's a good question, but we should take it, figure out if there's a policy.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
also true for cancellations. I know this is Alpine. I don't know if you're here by the Alpine. And they can make it right up to the moment you're out to play, and they can cancel, they can hold it until that, they don't really ever have to cancel.
Yeah.
So it's something we should probably look at.
Okay.
One issue that I've seen before is somebody makes a reservation, they don't show up, and then somebody else shows up and they're like, hey, we'd love to use the sport. Nobody's here, the person who made the reservation, and then if they're locked out of the system, then that 2 hours is then basically left empty. because-
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
Didn't meet the-
All right. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to online here. I know Diane. Go ahead, Diana.
Okay, I'm a pickleball player and I use our existing system for reserving both courts as well as the ball machine. So court 1 will have 4 pickleball courts, A, B, C, D. When somebody tries to make a reservation, do they specifically say they want 1A or 1B?
Yes.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking, if you use the ball machine, you maybe set up the ball machine in 1 court, but you need both. The person using the ball machine will shoot balls all over, and you can't play pickleball next to somebody using the ball machine because they use different balls. You can't mix the balls. So if somebody wants to use the ball machine, can they reserve 1A and 1B? The same person?
Can reserve 2 courts.
That's a good question. I think the answer would have to be yes. I don't know.
There's no choice. You cannot play regular pickleball next to somebody using the ball machine. It just doesn't work.
Okay. All right. I've written down your question. Why don't we hold that for now and we will come back to it. Okay. All right. Also online, we have Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, can you hear me right now?
We can, yes.
Okay, yeah. I don't necessarily like to play tennis a whole bunch, but maybe like 6 times a year. I've got this old high school buddy of mine that I used the Google spreadsheets format before this SCADA system. And it's nice to be able to reserve the tennis court, but technically, I'm 5 feet from the town border, so I'm not a resident. And I was just wondering, would you ever consider as part of the proposal something that other towns have adopted where they specifically deprioritize the non-residents behind the residents, and they say like, okay, we allow the residents, let's say on the 15th of the month, to make reservations, but then the non-residents can make like a limited number of reservations, let's say on the 17th, like a few days later, so that the residents still get priority, but the non-residents can still occasionally book, like, let's say a tennis reservation, because it could be, again, I'm not looking to play a whole bunch, but it has been nice the last like 4 years to occasionally be able to make a reservation with an old high school buddy of mine and know that it can be like a solid reservation, even if it is like deprioritized, behind residents, but it would be nice to be able to still be able to do some limited amount of that versus, not being able to do that, at all.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if that might be considered, so.
Okay, Matt, I've written down your question. Thank you. We appreciate it. Jay, go ahead.
So I've got a few questions. I put them in email before, and I'll just touch base. You've touched base on a couple. One, I would suggest that we can reserve court 3. We can do it today, and I reserve it for basketball. Perhaps you could split it in 2 halves, because a lot of times the basketball games are only half court. But it's useful to be able to reserve it if you need it. The next thought is, I'm a tennis player generally, but I would have no problem with allowing the pickleballers to reserve court 2 starting in the morning, let's say, of the same day, so that if the thing's wide open and they need the court, it seems like they, might, being able to schedule might be useful to them. I guess with the open play, that wouldn't work in reverse because you want to keep it open for open play all day. So you can't really book on top of open play for the pickleballers. But anyway, that's just a thought for you.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
And then a couple more. If you can,
I just want to repeat your comment to the people in the room because they can't hear you
Okay.
very well.
Great.
His first comment was he would like to be able to make reservations on the all sports court.
Which you can do today.
Which you cannot do today.
You can do today. I do.
Okay, that's interesting because you can't, but
Well, you could do it 2 months ago. I'm sorry. Maybe you can't do it now.
okay, I've never opened court 3 up for reservations, so that's interesting. Okay, thank you.
It's on the schedule. I just booked something.
Okay, I don't doubt you. I don't look at it every day, but and then the second comment he made was that maybe it might be okay to allow pickleballers, say if court 2 has no reservations on it for the full day, maybe they could go ahead and make reservations on court 2, just so
Same day.
they have some way to predict it and plan for it. But then if you're in open play, that doesn't kind of defeats the purpose of the reservation. So it was just an open comment that he made. Did I reflect that correctly, Jay?
Yes. And then I've got 2 more.
Okay, 2 more.
If you could disable the recurring appointment function for anybody that isn't an administrator, I think that would be more fair. Some people go in and just load the calendar with a recurring appointment for a long time. So just don't let regular people like me book a recurring appointment.
So he asked about disabling the recurring capability on SCEDA, so that people don't keep going, 9 o'clock Saturday morning forever. If we only open up reservations a month in advance, that by default would limit them to a month.
Yeah, but even that, I think, what I see is people book the thing, I notice the court and it's not being used when they booked it. And so I think some of that's happening where people will book a spot, they won't show up for it because it's easy to book it. So it makes it more deliberate if you have to book each Saturday.
Okay. All right. Did you hear that? He said sometimes people book it and they just never show up. So if they have to book it every single time, it just makes it so they show up, kind of like a gym membership, if you're paying for it, you show up. Okay, one more, Jay.
And then the last one, the way you wrote it, you said a group, like a team or a league or something has to talk to you before the 15th to book for the next month. But if it seems like if, they organize something on the 1st of the month for that month, they can see an open block. They ought to be able to go to the administrator and say, hey, can we get 4 hours for pickleball on, in 2 weeks? If it's open, let you book it.
Okay. So his comment was groups should be able to book it anytime if they see an open slot and just work with the system administrator and make that request.
Right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jay. Go ahead.
So you want the all sports court to be able to be reserved for full games. I've actually never seen a full court basketball game on there, and it's been a question for a while. We see half court occasionally, but I've never seen, and the reason why it came up is actually a different subject of why you said you want to be able to reserve it, because we used to have a skateboard ramp on there, right? And that was a big point of discussion because it took out full court basketball, right? So the question is, do you know people that play full court basketball and would want to play regularly full court basketball on the all sports court?
I have only played half court.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. You have an answer to that?
I agree with you. I think most people play half court basketball. That's my experience. I play sometimes out there. And I also would like to take the opportunity to put in front of the committee to bring back the skate ramp. I think it was a really great thing. Anecdotally, we have a lot of experience out there with skateboarders and rollerbladers and kids all playing on it. And it was too bad.
We hear you.
Just so you know, it was only removed because it was falling apart.
Yeah, no, it could be rebuilt and they're happy to petition to help make that happen. So
Great.
very dangerous.
I'm gonna take your name down here.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it back to the room now. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to make a comment? Cindy? You're limited to 3 minutes, Cindy.
Okay, I wanted to answer some questions. Somebody asked on your committee, what other towns do? How long has a reservation system, and they have 15 pickleball courts. It's all over the place. The reason they do that is there's not a lot of exclusive times where just any resident or any person can't come play. And what we have experienced in this last 6 months is almost all exclusive play. You know, it's just been 70%. I can't go on court because somebody has reserved it for exclusive play. So that's what we think this open play will do for us. But we realized that we needed reservations because of the ball. Realized that we needed the ball because we do have that. We do have that. But it is, but you can see each other. I made it so expensive with softball. I just need to make one that's long enough to go between courts. So I need a 40-foot fence, basically, and I can do that. I'll make it this weekend.
It would just be temporary, or somebody would roll in and roll out.
Things that we put against, yeah, we have them there now, that go between where the tennis nets are. So that balls don't go back and forth between the two big sides. And they're just little PVC things with netting. You know, it stops the balls.
So what you're saying is, if somebody wants to use a ball machine, they make the reservation for A and B,
They can make just A and then put up.
make it just A,
And then we'll have a fence there.
and then you put in a little divider, and then that will,
That will solve the problem of the balls flying all over the place, because they really do. And why we keep the balls separate is the ball machine chews up balls. It takes the wax off of the pickleballs. Kind of. So we have separate play balls.
okay.
So I reserve it for A, somebody else play ball, we have one ball machine,
One. So you have,
they do A and B.
right, can't do that. So I talked to you about that, and yeah, we want to open play, so there's no exclusive play. Does that make sense?
Yes, so this is saying that tennis would have priority for the courts, so anybody could come.
Tennis over there is, we're talking about ABC.
Yeah.
Our floor. And what has happened is that, and the rolling nets are gonna make this even better, because right now we have to have hosts put up the nets. We have to have people that are kind of managing situations. But with league play, we have different kinds of players. We have recreational players, we have advanced players, we just have different sets of people that come out and play. We have beginners, you know, and they don't want to be advanced people. So they've started to spread out anyway. So I don't think we're going to have a problem with 16 people. You know, 16 people is a lot of people. It's 4 courts, you know.
Yeah.
We're kind of, lately, I've seen no more than 20 on a given day, you know, on an afternoon play. And what we think we're going to do, how it will work, is that we'll just have meetup times. We're going to say beginners come on Tuesdays. Or, you know, have times where we we meet up for those groups. So that when the league players want to have their practices, they'll have a time if they have their practices. It's what we normally do now. We're not mixing as much as we used to, because we're a much bigger group now too.
You got to click, you know.
Does that mean you're saying that this is sufficient pickleball, that one court, basically that you
Yeah,
can?
because I know how many tennis players there are. And I'd be happy to get off of the court, and I have many times gotten off of the court, so somebody comes and I don't really need that court. You know, I mean, I think that we'll have 16 players over here, nobody's over there, we can set up a couple of temporary nets till somebody comes. And I think that should be just fine.
Well, that's the nice thing about the rolling pickleball nets is people can now come anytime.
Anytime, and I think that will happen.
You know, they're not limited to group play. They can come play at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with their group, their advanced group.
Yeah, you're gonna have to reserve, you know, because we'll have plenty of room. I really believe, I mean, it's worth trying to keep 6 months.
I'm sorry.
So how they play on court two.
We have our temporary. Nice one.
Was that everything, Cindy?
I think
Okay, I did want to mention, but because you made me remember, Susan Adams wrote in, and they would see Susan here on the phone. She asked why court 1 versus court 2. Because she brought up the point, which she brought up many times, that there's a corner in court 1 that it's wet and slippery, and it's dangerous for pickleball players. That's not the case on court 2. And I know you and I talked about this, and our reasoning was couplefold. One is that one is closer to where the pickleball nets are going to be. So as you roll them out, you're going to roll them in those double doors that are right by court 1. If people are playing tennis on court 1, you're going to have to roll the pickleball net through the tennis court to get to court 2. Not a good experience for the tennis players. The other one was, if there's a lot of players standing around waiting to get on court, there's really no place for them to stand around and wait if court 2 is your pickleball court. They're standing around the shadows, they're standing by the fence. It's just an easier place for them to wait and socialize and not bother the tennis players. Now, that can be revisited, but that was some of our thought that we went through that. Cindy, do you want to add to that?
Yes, there's one more thing that is why court 1, and it's because if you recall when we proposed the town council and dedicated courts on court 1, we chose court 2 as our court because it's a better court. And the town council did not like having a permanent pickleball, the idea of permanent pickleball nets on court 2.
Okay.
Because it would split into tennis courts, court mature, then would not be able to have their tennis practice. So,
Okay. All right.
so that was one of the things that the town council specifically did not want us to do.
Okay. All right.
I have a question regarding that. What time of day is that impacted and time of year? Because I'm assuming as daylight savings time comes into play and warmer weather, that's not an issue.
The court 1,
The court 1.
we actually like it so because it's shaded.
Okay,
So on a hot day, we like, court 1.
okay,
On a cold day, we like court 2.
okay,
And on a wet day, we like court 2.
okay.
So
Yeah.
everybody give us whichever one they want.
What's the meeting day?
Well, and it impacts, if it's slippery for a pickleball player, it's extra slippery for a tennis player.
No,
That means you can't play.
Their court's not back there. Our court,
Okay, I see.
they've got a lot bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you had your name up for. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, I'm Steve Levin. I'm a long-term pickleball player. First, I want to say, I think this is an outstanding policy overall. I think it's very thoughtful. It's balanced, allows everybody to play. It takes away, it supports the idea of people dropping in and playing more casually. I love that. Second, a big piece of the joy of our pickleball community, I say this for myself, but I think I can really speak for almost everybody in that community. It is not that we organize it to small groups of 4 and say, let's play, but we show up and we get to play with each other. It's very social that way. It's a big feature. And unlike tennis, where someone says they get a tennis date and they go with that person, they play, that's not that social. We're only socializing with one person. We're socializing with everybody. So I think this policy still supports that idea of a bunch of us showing up together, as Cindy said, we have time. Okay, we're gonna have the intermediate players, all you guys show up, we all get to play with each other, it's very fluid. And I just want to make sure you all appreciate, that's a lot of people. It's not just playing the game, it's how we are. So that's, that's it.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, And Jake, you still have your hands up, but did you have something else or did it just not drop your hands? Okay,
I have something else real quick. I
okay.
just wanted to say, I think the proposal generally was really well thought out. I agree with Steve's comments exactly. I wanted to make sure you all felt some support for the proposal you've outlined.
Thank you, Jay. Jay supports it. Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think it sounds pretty well thought out and I don't have a lot of problems with it. I do agree that playing pickleball on a slit court versus playing tennis is, I would rather be on a slit court playing pickleball, right? So I agree with that comment for sure. And then I think another problem, which maybe we have a lot of good minds here and maybe we can do some sort of community outreach and send some stuff out to in the school newsletter. But I think there is a problem with the kids showing up after school. They will not ask adults to leave a court. So and maybe this is something we need to work on with the kids, but they'll show up and they'll see a bunch of people playing pickleball and they'll be like, okay, the courts are full, we can't play. So I don't know how to fix that problem. Maybe we need to put signs up. Maybe we need to do some outreach to the parents. Maybe we need to do some outreach through the school so that the kids know that they actually do have a right to be on that court number 2.
Okay, thank you, Thank you, Tracy.
Can I ask the pickleball people a question on that then?
Sure, go ahead.
If you have like 22 or 3 courts that you need, would you all play on court 1 instead of spreading out? Because even though the balls go all over the place, you still squeeze it on court 1, right?
We constantly are consolidating the consideration of tennis people. In fact, Tracy, so you know, if kids show up with tennis rackets and you see them, we're gonna say, oh, are you here to play tennis? Come on. We're doing that constantly. Even now, people show up with tennis rackets and they are kind of like, see, we're like, oh, give the court reserved, or are you playing tennis? Yeah, we'll move over. So we're very alike that way. We're very collaborative. We're not really turf. Do we say?
I think it's gotten better. We did have some situations where we used to show up, stand with our tennis rackets, and we only had an hour of daylight. I get like an hour at the end of my workday before it gets dark. And a couple times it's like, oh, can we just finish our game here? And then all the courts wrapped up and was like, sure, we got 50 minutes of daylight. You want 10 more minutes to finish your game, and then you got to move to the tennis. I want to be polite and respectful of that, but we only have an hour long. And like I said, it's gotten much better. And I have shown up too, where there's 3 games being played on court 2 and 1 game being played on court 1. And same kind of thing, we show up and it's like, well, pickleball over here and they got the whole thing, you know, we can walk out there. And they, like I said, as long as we ask, our experience has been better.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is nice to, you know, and I understand everyone makes an effort to.
Yeah, I think the goal should be, if there are 4 pickleball games going, they're on A, B, C, D, not A, B, court 2.
Yes.
And what I say on here is rolling pickleball nets are only to be used on court 1. So if pickleball needs to play on court 2, they got to roll out the other nets. Yeah. Yeah, leaves the tennis court open.
Whether it has rules.
Yeah, okay. You know,
It's
all
on
4
here.
courts need to be full before they would play on the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, which nets is faster to get out of the way. Then they should move one of the rolling nets on the court 2 and put up the slower ones on the court 1. Right, so we can vacate it for a tennis player faster.
Actually, it takes about 30 seconds to move our nets.
Seconds. Oh, my God, it'll be a minute before we get started.
Okay, do I have any other comments?
I think the two capture the big part of it, which is just communication in general, right? We need to figure out how we're gonna.
Yeah.
communicate this, right? To make a big deal, as much as we can, because I do think when you're walking by, you see people, even from a little bit of a distance, you know, they're full, or something, and so I do think it's an issue, but as long as people know.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll put down a rule, it could be 2 on each one, 2 and 2, and I move it down, but okay.
okay, we have Christine online.
Hi, I'm a relatively new pickleball player, and I just want to thank you for all the work you've done to put this policy in place. I think it's a great policy. I think increasing the amount of open play or drop-in play is a wonderful idea. I have really benefited from getting to see my neighbors and do this and enjoy it. And also giving, you know, a little bit more priority to Portola Valley residents. So I just want to say that I really do support it. I'm glad that you're thinking about how you can accommodate the ball machine. I know Diana, who is working hard with that. And it sounds like you've got a solution for that too. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Christine. Thank you. I had somebody, Steve, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I remember the final point of the wet court, and I actually had photos to bring. You know, the tennis courts like this, the pickleball courts exceed the boundaries of the tennis courts. The wet area, well, first of all, most of the courts dry out, but there's one that far corner is the persistently wet area. It can be wet for 2 or 3 days after it rains. It's very strange. And that is uniquely on the 4th pickleball court, not actually on the tennis. It's just in that far corner. So I think it still makes sense for us to have priority on court 1 pickleball, court 2 for tennis. I also think if the situation were to come up where all the courts are being used on court 1, and there's tennis players on court 2, and there's a wet spot on Kennedy's one pickleball, we could probably just talk to the tennis players and say, hey, could we switch? I mean, you don't even have to have it in the policy. It could be just something that we do among ourselves to make best use of it.
Yeah,
And
use common sense and communicate and be nice and,
voluntary.
yeah,
So, and I don't think it's gonna come up at all.
all right. If there are unsafe conditions, I would prefer that somebody roll the pickleball net onto court 2. If nobody's there playing, then play in an unsafe situation. So I think common sense prevails. Communication and, you know, courtesy. Something that is lacking in today's society. But we're going to start it here in Portola Valley.
And maybe we could ask Howard about trimming the tree a bit, so it's.
Yeah.
So it's less.
Well, we talked about putting like a tarp over that corner. Yeah, yeah, we talked about doing some things there.
If you're going to, you want to hit the water. Butane torch.
Okay, all right, let's keep it going here.
Yeah, we're going to comments about how to communicate the rules, the guidelines, because may not be, you know, everyone's not going to be aware of it, especially maybe if you're out of town. Call on the baseball night, there's a little all-weather sign, you see some of the rules for the baseball field.
Yeah.
Something similar like that could be posted.
Kids are kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't shoot the umpire. That one, that one. Yeah.
Something like that would be useful around pickleball rules and tennis court rules, so that, you know, the kids show up and really, you know, talk to adults about getting off the court. There's at least a sign right there saying, you know, they're in the right, they can move.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yep, thank you. Yep, we can do that. Okay. Anybody else online? Anybody else in the room? Any other comments from the committee?
The quick question.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Is the SCEDA access being changed already, or is that just a proposal? Because I was trying to log in online and I maybe noticed a change, but I wasn't sure if that was being implemented already or if it was just like kind of a proposal.
No, this is only a proposal at this time. There has been no change to SCEDA, to the best of my knowledge.
Because at least when I logged in, I thought I only have read-only access now when I try to make a reservation, but it says like I have to contact a venue administrator, so I thought maybe something had changed.
No, nothing has changed. Why don't you send me an email and we can figure it out.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry about that. No, nothing has been changed. I'm not smart enough to change it. Yes, Dave.
Anything changing with the, court lines? With the change of priorities?
No.
They already repainted, right?
Everyone's out there.
They're now bright yellow.
Yeah, I did get a comment from a tennis player. It was Ron, I think, online that said he didn't like the yellow lines. So I want to represent Ron in here. Said it's hard to see the tennis balls now. They bounce off the yellow paint a little differently. So I just want to bring that out there. Just full disclosure.
Still sell balls?
I don't know. Taryn, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm having a hard time hearing, so this may or may not have been answered already.
Mhm.
The pickleball drop-in times or open play times, if you come early and get a court, is there a time limit that you have to leave?
If you're a drop-in player?
If you, because you can only reserve from 9 to 11, right?
Correct.
And then after 11, it's first come, first serve?
It's drop-in, and there's a paddle rack system. Are you familiar with the paddle rack system?
Yeah, okay, so, and that's for all the courts then? All the courts will have,
All pickleball courts.
okay, and so if I come, say if I come with the game and there are courts that are empty, so they still have to, we paddle on like any other court. So if there are courts that are empty, people come, they paddle on my court, even though I come early to get a court. Doesn't
I think what
really
she's
matter.
saying, Taryn, tell me if I'm hearing this correctly. You're saying you would have 4 people, you'd come and you'd be the only people on court 1. And a 5th person shows up and hangs their paddle. You're asking if that 5th person can join your game, would have to join your game.
Right, that basically is what's happening, right?
And
Even
that's,
though I've come and I've invited 3 other people to play a game and we like to play for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, but
It's
it's not
now-
just one person. Just say they come with 4 people, right? And they want to play for a couple hours. They don't want to mix around. Now what?
They
Do
can't,
have to switch every
they
game?
gotta mix.
Do they have to, you have to
They
give up
have
a
to
quarter of
mix.
the game?
If there's a free court, they can move to another court, they can race.
Well, they
There's
have
a
to give
free
it up,
court,
right?
yeah, I mean, that's fine.
So if all 4 courts are being used,
Then they have to get on
every game.
and wait for the next. And with 4 courts, that happens in like 10 minutes. Every other town in the area uses a system like that. Nobody else has education.
So I think these are some details that we probably can't write into a policy. They're probably gonna have to depend on the pickleball community.
Committee, some committee would be formed to say.
Yeah. It's kind of the next, I think, layer down, isn't it?
Well, I think it was an answer to her question. So the only question back is that okay? Right? Do you think it's okay? Right? So they're saying if you come with 3 friends and you want to play for a couple of hours, you would still need to rotate every time you finish the game if there was somebody waiting.
Yes.
And the point of that is they think it also would rotate quickly because every game for 4 different courts, you probably would be, 5 minutes later, a court would open up, 10 minutes later. So is that okay?
Does that answer your question, Taryn?
Yes,
seems like-
that answers my question, but it's challenging because it's kind of like, if somebody comes and wants to rotate into tennis, it's very hard you've come and you want to play a certain level but I understand that it becomes a public court. So the only real time that you can have your own games is 9 to 11. And then it becomes.
So I think we were just talking pickleball, right? So
Only talking pickleball.
So for tennis, the question is, do you want to have it be where there's just a time limit? In most places, it would be like an hour and a half or something.
2 hours.
Or 2 hours, you would have to rotate out.
I think there's some confusion.
Okay, wait, Dave had his hand up first.
The
How,
and that's for any court, any of the 4 pickleball courts, like I got
yes.
my paddle up next to any of the.
Next game that finishes, someone, if there's 2 paddles waiting, 2 people in that game have to come off, 2 people go on. Next game finishes, 3 racks, 3 people off, 3 people on. Okay, Steve?
I want to clarify, I think this is great. If Karen shows up as a group of 4 and starts to play, and a 5th player comes, if there's an open court somewhere, Karen is not obligated to incorporate that person to get off that court. She can play as long as she wants. It's only when the courts are full that players can have the right, that they need to vacate the court to allow for other players who are not yet playing.
Okay.
Once we have a sort of an ethos within our group, that if 4 people are playing, if you're drop it and a 5th person shows up, we rotate around because we want to be inclusive.
Right.
That's not.
So Taryn, did you get that?
Yes, I got it. So I guess my question and clarification is it really open play or is it drop-in kind of, because open play, like some people would just say, okay, it's open play, I can come and secure a court and play with my friends, versus drop-in where it's everybody drops into play. So there's a slight difference between.
Yeah, if you want to call it drop, it's probably closer to drop in than it is to open
I'd
play.
like Cindy and Steve to define open play versus drop in, because I thought it was the other way.
Open play is not reserved. You can't reserve. You don't want reservation. We want people.
And drop-in, I think, is where we as a community can be, say, hey, come and drop in with us. And we'll play around, we'll rotate around, and there, we as a community kind of self-manage our play. You know, we do that, and with the paddle racks, we're gonna do that. To keep things mixed up and fluid. That's been a lot of what's created the glue of the community. It is the epic. Cindy and I wrote a note about this to a whole community that just went out. The ethos is that everybody plays with everyone at least some of the time. It keeps things fluid and produce that.
Is there in the system, would there be a dedicated time for drop-in versus open play?
We plan to have what we call meetup. Okay, we specify times, you know, like there's 2 times right now that I want beginners and beginners, you know, that we say, you know, you come to the court, we'll teach you to play. And we call it new beginner day. And so I want to keep that. I want to keep 9 to 11 on Tuesdays is new beginner day. By the way, the current champion, 15-year-old. Oh, cool. You know, we want to keep that kind of thing. Intermediate players, you know, Taryn wants her advanced players. I mean, we get that. The league wants to practice with just the league. We get that. So they'll have their times and we'll have our times and we'll be drop-in times where everybody meets.
Yeah.
So I have experience at Alpine with both these situations. So it used to be that on Thursday mornings at Alpine Hills, there was drop-in, but also open play. So what would happen is that I show up with 3 friends to play for A, and then if there's no one else, or if someone shows up, we may rotate them in or we may not, but if 12 people show up, then you have to start adding, or actually more than 12, because that's my 3 parts, right? So until you hit 12 people, you don't necessarily have to rotate because they can form their own games, they can kind of like do whatever next to us. But once you get past 12, then we have to start rotating.
Okay.
But I think what my view is we're creating a policy here, right? And I think what really is mostly is the open court part. You guys do the drop in, you have a group of friends and you're working something out amongst you, right? And so I think what we're really defining here is just, you know, when can you reserve it? When can you come? And what are the rules for how long you can keep it? Things like that, right? And that's really open court.
I think that's great. And that kind of minimalist policy that allows the community to figure out details of.
Right, right.
Karen, we're gonna move on. Jay, did you have something you wanted to say? Jay?
Actually, I was just gonna say, I think the pickleball community can work out a lot of the details amongst the pickleball community.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the policy.
Yeah, I think this is gonna evolve over time. I agree. Probably a level of detail that we don't need to legislate. My opinion.
But I do, the one comment in there I thought was relevant is just should there be something in the policy about time limit? At least for the tennis players, start there, because there's a court that's dropped in. How long can you keep the court? Right?
Well, I'm saying 2
It's in
hours.
there, 2 hours.
2 hours sound right to people?
Yeah,
Tennis
Maybe
2 hours.
2 hours for
hours.
reservations, but what about non-reservations?
Yeah, what about drop? We're talking about open court time now. When do you have to move off?
You don't have to, if nobody ever shows up, you never have to
No,
go.
no, other people do show up.
Oh, I think we said you have 10 minutes to get on.
Well, that's pickleball. Question is, what's the
No,
location?
I think I said everything.
No, what they're proposing, Patty,
You can play
is
for an
that
hour.
we add another rule that says you can only keep the court for 2 hours if someone's waiting. If you're a drop-in, you can only play for 2 hours if someone else is waiting. That's what they're suggesting.
Yeah,
For
that was
tennis.
a long time.
That's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
No, I thought we were talking if someone comes and they have a reservation or they're a priority group and you are not the priority group, how long does it you have to take to get off the court? I'm saying like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
That's a different question.
what if neither of us have a reservation? I showed up at 12 o'clock. Started playing my tennis game. That's not happening. Started playing my tennis game, then John shows up at 12:02
Yeah. I don't
without his
know.
reservation. When do I have to make way for John?
I don't know. You have to arm wrestle for it
I'm gonna
again.
go online and make a reservation, so.
Well, we're gonna fix that too.
That's fair. I'm open to suggestions on that.
In general, I think the tennis community won't play that long. So I don't know of anyone who plays 3 hours of tennis. So I don't think it's a problem that's a problem.
I think we should put something in there. It probably should be an hour. I can't imagine waiting more than an hour.
Yeah.
For a court.
Yeah,
So I'm a tennis player and we can reserve up to an hour and 45 minutes at Alpine for doubles and we use the whole time. So, you know, if I get onto a court and I start playing and I would like to use the hour and 40.
well, then for tennis,
I don't want to have to then, because someone's
I understand.
waiting to get off with that person.
so then what I suggest is for tennis, if you want to play for 2 hours, go make a reservation.
Yes, right.
If you just want to go rally and you can get off in 10 minutes, you don't need a reservation. But if you want to play for 2 hours for tennis, make a reservation.
30 minutes here, but 5 laps, we keep resting.
That's right, yeah. Okay,
I would add that.
okay. Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Yes. Still another pickleball court.
I wish, where do you want to put it?
Right next to the sheriff's station. The first open space, there's nothing there, it's easy to access the field.
No, you better keep that quiet or the housing element committee will come and take it away. There were a lot of comments about just build another one and I'd love to be able to have that conversation. Well, we've had it. Yes, we have had it.
But now we have a new housing element, so it's probably a conversation that should be had.
Well, and the dog park too.
Plus, we also.
When's the next town election?
We left off the discussion of town council with that as being one of the actions, actually, I think, which is.
Yeah.
We should put it, so we should probably offhand, I don't know how to go about it, but, you know, we could form a subcommittee, not that, you know, There's something to go try to figure out permanent pickleball courts.
I think.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Where and how big is the Hawthorne property?
I agree.
How big is it?
Go talk to your Hawthorne's representative over
I
there.
believe it's 7 and 9 acres. I'll remind you that.
Okay. All right, we're not taking permanent pickleball courts off the agenda. Just not at this meeting. And subcommittee working on it, okay. All right, any other comments about the policies? Written. Okay, I want to thank everybody for their comments and suggestions, questions. I think this has been a very productive discussion. I know we didn't follow the Brown Act, so if you don't tell anybody, I won't either. And we didn't at all, but that's okay. I thought it was productive. Okay, what I would suggest is that I'm going to take these suggestions away and come up with a revision, which I will publish with the goal of getting a vote at the next March meeting and taking it to the April 12th town council. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Do I hear a motion for that?
I move that you do.
Do I have a second that I do that? All in favor? Thank you. Woohoo. Got something done. Now is everybody gonna leave?
You gotta get your name so that we know you work on the skateboard. And the basketball.
Yeah.
What's your name again?
Tapley, T-A-P-L-E-Y, last name is Richards.
Thank you.
Los Trancos resident. And, yeah, I'm a builder and whatnot, so.
Oh, well, you can build a skateboard.
Yeah, for the thing you put together, be happy to.
We found an online one we really liked, and the town.
What was that?
We found an online one we liked, but
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great, and there are ones that are, you know, you can get, commodity ones, they're also pretty easy to build, really.
Yeah.
Well, this was a kit. You'd have to put it together, but it,
Yeah.
So it's kind of more like the last one we had.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think we could find the resource and everything to pitch in and find if there was the.
That would be great. Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks,
Thank you, Al. Thanks. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming.
We'll let you, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
I'm assuming I can find your contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Who we're talking to. All right, back to,
Gonna go to A.
A local measure for protecting recreational space. I have not done anything, sorry.
Sorry, I'm going back to the new business, discuss nominations for committee membership, so we,
Oh, do you want to talk about committee membership?
I'm just, I'm not saying I want anything, I'm just trying to understand where we get.
we knocked that, we said we come back.
That was every come back.
Oh, okay, all right.
I can be my king. You wanna give your opinion first?
Well, I didn't realize we had a limit of 7, and I don't have an issue with, I don't think that I have an issue with Laderick. I think that having 7 members would be good, and then we have a quorum and we have 4, so that's all good. I personally, though, would like to see someone on the committee that plays this open drop-in pickleball, because I think this is a big issue for the town. So I know that you can't pick and choose the candidate, but I would like to see that for someone that maybe with young, also for diversity, someone with young children that could be helpful with the town picnic. That's an ideal, a wish list, but that's sort of my immediate thought.
Do you play pickleball?
I do.
But you don't.
No, I talked to Cindy. I actually talked to Cindy. Cindy agrees. And she is going to actively recruit somebody to get on the committee.
And I've been talking to Cindy about that too.
Yeah.
But again, that's an ideal situation. I think having a new member is always great. I'm not opposed to that, but I just want to fill the spot with the best that, and not the best is the wrong word. You know, with the matters that maybe we need the filling in for
Yeah.
and the interest level in.
Well, that was actually one question that came up here is I got a call from a Ladera resident that said when I read it here, that residents don't include Ladera. And this person wasn't very happy. So I don't know, if we define residents as Portola Valley town boundaries, that's not Ladera.
This is Los Angeles.
Technically, it is Los Trancos and Vista Verde.
I would double check that.
Jeremy kind of couldn't answer that, but I've asked Jeremy, I've reached out to
Okay,
Jeremy
right.
to get some clarification.
Because the community guideline handbook says by exception, we could take someone that lives outside of the
Yes,
town boundary.
yes. So I guess the question is, yeah, so,
Oh, it's been also defined other ways for some leaves, just loosely. For instance, we often say as long as if they're in the Portola Valley School District, right, you don't want to exclude kids that go to Corte Madera, right? No matter where they live. There's one law.
Right, and that's what Los Trancos and Vista Verde are.
Right,
Yeah,
right. The other thing they,
but not Ladera.
the only thing they really are is just they're the same zip code.
right,
Yes,
right.
yeah, and we don't really share some of the same facilities.
They have their own facility. In fact, they have 4 tennis courts. So, and they have Woodland School.
You said this person was particularly more interested in the dog park.
Her application said she wanted to join the committee because she wanted Portola Valley to have a dog park. That, I read the application.
I did too, but yeah, it was late in
Yeah.
October when they told
And
me.
I guess I feel like between you and I, Patty, we're focused on that. I know you have a lot of responsibility, but I mean, I'm happy to sort of own that.
Oh, no.
And John
I'm
is.
happy to hand it to
and
you.
John too.
I'm just trying to. In line with what you were saying, by the way, it wasn't diversity, great in terms of interests. I just want to do it, right? We need somebody who's actually going to participate, not just come to meetings, but is going to help with the town picnic and whatever else. We need people that really will spend time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I get a feel for, would you open committee membership to Ladera? Yes or no?
I would. Close enough.
Well, let's limit it to one person.
Mhm.
So we don't get,
We do not overrun by Ladera.
yeah, I want those.
You don't want those copies in here? It's in red line.
Yeah,
Karen,
yes. Portola Valley Schools could be eligible.
Karen?
How do I say this? Yeah, yes, but I want to make sure, I agree completely with John. And again, as I said, if we got one spot open.
Actually, we can expand it. My concern with growing it without them being a major contributor would really be helpful is that it increases the requirements for quorum.
Yes,
And we already clearly
right,
run that risk every meeting.
right.
And now going to 7, let's do that, I don't think, because we have 6 now, right?
No, we have 7.
Yes.
No, I thought we had 6.
No, we have 7.
And Carrie.
No, our quota is,
Yeah, so we can add one more. But the point is that there's no difference in the quorum requirements between 6 and 7.
yeah.
Right.
You have to have greater than
Okay, Dave, what's your feeling?
Well, between 6 and 7, there is. Quorum's 3, I have 50%, right?
you have to have greater than 50%, so it's 4
That's
people.
why an
whether
odd
it's 6
number
or
is
7.
good.
We don't have to have above 50%, right?
You have to have about 50%.
Well, then the quorum is not
4.
7. Just 4, okay.
Dave, what's your feeling?
With the. I don't know there, with the town council count, if they showed up, they count to form. Or they're just observer.
Has who?
Town council representative, that's supposed to be.
It's not a quorum.
They're not a member, they're just a. observer.
Yeah, Sarah Warren
I would
officer.
prefer not to have a Ladera resident on the committee. Okay, I think that's my preference as well, but I also want to be inclusive, so I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I'm kind of,
Ladera's in the gray zone.
I'm on the fence too. I mean,
Palo Alto when it's not Menlo Park.
I don't know how to call this person and say, would you really work?
Right.
Would you really do something?
Can we get in touch with her and talk?
Oh, yeah,
to
I'm sure
her
we could.
And say, besides the dog park, will you hold at the town?
Maybe I could interview her or something and see what they come back with. Okay.
When is it? Yeah,
September 23rd.
Yes, birthday.
We're throwing a big birthday party this year.
For you?
And throw a big picnic, invite everybody.
I'll have a banner
That's why
made.
you know it.
I'll have a banner made. Okay, so on committee membership, I'm gonna reach out and interview her and just see.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Okay, all right, I have not done anything, I apologize. I was gonna reach out to Christie and just get some more information about what it would take to support some of these local measures, and what it means, but I just haven't had the time. Court usage, we already talked about, pickleball nets, we already talked about. Karen would like to give us an update on dog park.
Yes, and I don't really know what protocol is, but these are the, can I share the notes, the draft notes from our meeting? So we did.
Technically, if you share notes, they should go out in the meeting agenda.
Okay, then, because I'll just speak to them because this is a draft. And I guess I should get input from everybody we met with prior to then sharing them. But real quickly, we had a meeting with Patty and myself and Catherine McGill, who's the chair of conservation, and John Silver. And we reviewed the history and the background of the last time we tried the dog park situation, which essentially it was put on hold. The field next to the pickleball courts, the area there was selected, but it was put on hold due to concerns from the Conservation Committee regarding putting up fencing and the impact of native grasses. And the Equestrian Committee also had concerns about safety issues of having a group of dogs so close to the trail, even though there'd be a fence there. So we said, what are our goals and objectives with this dog park? And I think we also needed to talk about who is this for? And we said it's obviously for dog owners, but it's also for a lot of residents that are upset and do not want to see dogs off leash on the trails and everywhere. So it provides an alternative to get these dogs off leash in an official area. And it would create a safer environment for everybody. That the ideal size was agreed on about half a soccer field so the dogs could run a good distance to chase a ball. Fencing is necessary, but we all felt that it could be built in a manner that is consistent with town aesthetics. And if you go by Ford Park, there's a split rail fence there. If you go to some other areas, you'll see Hopewell Park Town Center has fences, things like that. Ideally, it's located on town property. It's easily accessible with parking. It has some type of safe substrate for dogs, meaning free of foxtails, birds, but grass is not necessary. And then there's probably going to have to be maintenance, whether it's garbage pickup, gate opening, locking, mowing, etc. We know more once we have a site to figure out the maintenance. We actually talked about funding, and we think that we could probably fund it with private funding, but it will require outreach. And that it's possible, Patty mentioned that part of the grant Parks and Rec could be able to be used because there's a $200,000 grant out there, and that we could look into PV Donates program. And we talked about, do we need a water source? Everybody said nice, but not necessary because owners bring their own. So the other issues there were, are there scenic corridor issues? How do you keep it from being run down? And the equestrian, really paying attention to the equestrian side. Idea came up about a dual use park like Milan, and I went and I checked that, and Milan Park allows, let me check my notes. Oh, I didn't write it down. Milan actually allows dogs from 9 to 11 Monday through Friday, and then it's a baseball field. And I haven't had a chance to check into how they patrol it, shall we say, so that it's sanitary.
Right.
And then Patty is gonna come back to the group. She did a lot of work prior and has detailed information on the site addresses of the town property and what the issues were with each of those. And then we talked about some other pieces of property. And we're gonna, our next meeting, which is scheduled for this Thursday, but I've yet to hear from one person on that. We're gonna go look at some of these sites. We're gonna go check out some of these pieces of town-owned property and kind of revisit the situation and see and really do some research on dual use dog parks. And that's sort of where we're at. So we're making some forward progress on it.
And just opening the conversation, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Well, a great list as well. Covered it all out there. The throw ball, you know, I'm kind of getting more and more into the mode of thinking it has to be really big. For it to be functional for people who want to use it. You know, there's one up in Ranch, for instance. I don't know.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah, I don't think
It's not even as big as the schoolhouse.
That's like a run. I call that a dog run, like not a dog park. Does that make sense? Like it's so that's what we were thinking, half a soccer field.
I initially said a full soccer field.
You did, but but
That's not good.
have about that size. So any thoughts, comments, anything we should be pursuing?
Well, the big one, another big one in there, because this would be a lot easier, is the dual use. But the whole sanitation part seems like a really big deal. Just to give an example, to see the reaction when you say it's okay to use Ford Field. Dogs run around on, right?
Because it's already fenced, right? You know?
That would be the advantage.
Well,
It would be easy to.
it would, right.
Just a dugout straight, just.
But it's not like the others.
Was that?
But the hours there are very limited. And I think that there's certain people that want it open for longer
Whenever they want it
periods.
to
I
be
mean,
there.
9 to 11 a.m. is a pretty limited time period. It's good for many people and it is an alternative that we should look at.
Yeah. Better than nothing, but.
Right.
That's a popular time when there's a lot of people in town center.
Yes,
That's when they bring their dogs to the town center.
yeah.
So
But
that's
there's-
what you do.
there's- all the fields are used at certain times, but they're wide open. But that's probably when dog people too. I mean, it's open from 3 o'clock on every day, pretty much, and then weekends completely.
Right.
During the fall and spring.
Yeah, except for there's, you know, if it's the baseball field, then it's just baseball season.
Yeah, it's fall, it's their fall, right?
Yeah, no, for fall, exactly, but there are seasons.
Yeah.
Don't use them on this mountain.
January 30th.
Do you know who plays at Neon? Is it used for Little League? I don't think it's.
Absolutely.
It is, okay.
It's used by, like, Alpine Little League uses it, Monroe African Little League uses it. There's a big adult softball.
Okay.
There's some local club teams, club baseball teams that do it as well.
Okay.
It's not a great place for it, but it's 15 years too late. When they filled in the creek here, when they opened up the creek, that was supposed to be a huge open lawn. Just that little performance lawn here was going to be a very big one. Room for something like this. It wouldn't perfect because it wouldn't be used for anything. It's just an open lawn. But anyway,
Yeah.
it would be quite good. I don't think we put a base be able to leave a permanent structure around the softball field here. That's what people really wanted, because they wanted in the town center.
Yeah, ideally, and we agree, the people in the thing agreed, ideally, the town center is best.
Yeah. It's not just the outfield, it's all the first and third baseline.
Yeah.
We do put it up for the summer. We do have a fence out there. For 3
Yeah,
months.
it's temporary. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
that,
temporary.
if,
Okay.
If we can figure out
Think about it.
the sanitary issue is what bothers me most.
Well, it's happening right now. I'm gonna tell you the people that
I know.
bring their dogs to the town center or. to
But then you're
wherever.
gonna encourage, you know,
I know.
the goal would be to take all the pup and play and put them where the dog park should be. So it's gonna open up more dogs.
For sure.
Right.
Neil wasn't involved.
Elon
Neil,
wasn't awful.
for sanitation wise, because I was just coaching
Oh,
my
yeah.
son's juniors team there.
Okay.
It wasn't awful.
And also there, do they have, I mean, do they actually do anything about it?
I haven't had a chance to actually, I have to find the right person to talk to about who would. How they keep it sanitized, what do they do to clean it? Because clearly you've got to do something before you have the teams come on.
I
the
would
field,
hope they would do something.
Right,
But you have to inspect it.
Right.
You hope to inspect it. I don't know if there's much more than to go out and pick it up once, because it's not like you
Yeah.
can wash it.
yeah.
But I
When the
wonder if we
spring is
could
like
kind
And
of
there's one
hire,
in,
you know, hire people to do that, or just get our maintenance people to do that.
Yeah, there's another one in
Every day, full practice.
They mow the lawn.
Belmont. Belmont has one as well, a dual use. So those are the two that I found in the area. So I mean, we're trying to just think outside the box a little bit. So that's the update on that.
Aaron, I really appreciate your initiative on that. Thank you. Dave, yeah.
Is there a requirement for a pickup section?
We didn't discuss that, and I think that once we if we can find a site, then we'll get to those sort of details, but that's a good question.
That was part of our proposal before, because we thought we had more space.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice to have.
Yeah. it's-
Yeah, I don't know where.
You know, I don't think it'd be too hard, you know, even if it were here, to have another little fence up that just allows for small, you don't need a big area for small dogs.
No,
Okay, you're on the hook for E as well.
well, I have had no news on that at all. There's been nothing.
The only thing I saw, Jeremy reached out and just confirmed the committee representatives, and that's the last I heard.
I haven't heard anything from him. I actually, after our last meeting, sent him an email asking, and I don't even believe I heard something back, or he said, I'll let you know when I hear it. There was nothing there.
He just confirmed,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, 2023 priorities. I think most of them are on here.
Let's see, dog park, permanent pickleball courts.
Town picnics, that's. The only thing that's not on here is what we talked, not the only thing, but we talked last meeting about maybe having some game nights or some things.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Quite extensive, yeah. Would that be fun?
Yeah, I think it would be really fun.
So-
See if Marianne is interested in that.
Oh, really?
No.
Why? Because she wants.
The candidate.
Oh,
Marianne,
Oh,
the
Marianne.
candidate.
Oh,
I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna
That's
say-
what I realized you guys, yeah.
Oh. I mean, would it be worth it to come up with kind of a proposal? I mean, I think we just have to float some by Jeremy and see if we can get the room, and we have to organize it.
Well, I have a suggestion. My son goes to Tuesday trivia night at the Rose and Crown. And I think we, as a committee, should go there next Tuesday night and for information gathering and see how they do it.
Your picture?
My son goes.
I know nothing about trivia. I know sports.
Oh, okay. I wonder if they compete against each other.
Not there.
Okay.
Where is the Rose and Crown?
It's in Palo Alto.
You might want to have that like at the town picnic or the night before. What do you think?
I think it should be a separate
Just an event.
evening.
I think it's
Yeah.
an evening event. Yeah, it's like something in the,
Are we allowed to? We're allowed to have alcohol at town events.
you have to get a
People bring
license. You have to get a
it-
license.
But people bring it to the
They bring it to
concerts.
the, yeah, but then that's not town. It's not legal.
Okay.
It's legal.
Actually, no, you're allowed to, you were allowed to bring your own.
That's, yeah,
Or at least, I don't know about within the community hall,
okay.
but on the fields.
Oh, well, it's like, why don't we have?
We could get it if we got a license.
It says actually in the application.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You can't play music.
You can't broadcast.
Okay.
You can't amplify.
But Patty, I'm sorry, I'm switching the subject because I was thinking there are expenses. They're probably minimal, but if we start the court reservations for the sport court, it sounds like there's an added expense to SCETA because it's more courts on
Yeah.
the system.
If we add the sport court, we have 5 for free. Anything over 5, they start charging
Yeah.
us. So
And
that
then
would be,
signage, making sure that we have signage and stuff like that.
yeah, you mentioned the display case is broken.
Cindy told me, I haven't actually been over there. She said that the one outside the tennis courts, the plexiglass is off of it, or so there's no, it's not weatherproof at
Oh,
all.
okay, well, we need to
Yeah,
replace
so
that.
we
I think
need-
we need to get some better
Right.
signage too.
Right,
Call to Howard.
yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean.
well, we got $27,000 and I think we only spent.
I actually do think we should invest more in a reservation system eventually. We just need to put a budget. to it.
And one that requires less
Yeah.
manual
Yeah.
administration, right?
Well, Jeremy, or actually Corey wants to talk to me. I didn't know we had a news. What happened to Melvin?
Oh, Melvin went to, he's got a promotion and he's in East Palo Alto, I believe.
Oh, really?
He's
Okay.
either the assistant planner or the planner.
I know.
Yeah.
Corey. Anyway, Corey, reached out to me. She actually wants to talk to me about the town using SCETA more
Okay.
to see what its capabilities are. So, I think, we could look at, it's got a lot more functionality than we're using. It's got a lot more, most definitely. So we could use it to manage reserve fields and
SKEDA.com.
town conference rooms.
SKEDDA.
Mhm.
And Patty you have to email her to get approval to get an account. And it's,
That's what,
I would like to
that's
see
the
that.
next step up here.
That's why I think it's.
Okay, so what do we decide on trivia night? Are we doing it?
Is it like games or?
Well, we talked about a games night, we talked about a trivia night, we talked about a card night.
Because they have an alpha, it's not that used that much, again, I don't know. But it seems like such a great idea, but I don't know if it.
but that's for young the kids. Yeah, yeah.
But this would be something, I mean, we'd have to organize it,
Yeah.
communication, somebody'd have to run it.
Trivia. Or, we have to. That would be a big thing, because that'd be. a-
Trivia night is more organized. You could have a game night where you just set up card tables and people bring in games. That's more informal and not as organized. Bingo,
Well, bingo would be easier
Organized.
in a way. Yeah. But
My only thought is, I'm not sure we just want to do it once and then never again, I mean, I feel like if we're gonna do this, we have to sustain it and not just.
Get it started. Well, a team, how about if everybody has a team? Just get started. And try to get everybody.
to first do it with the adult softball league.
Yeah. Anything like that.
I
think we would have to see
Well, that's,
it a little bit.
I mean, I kind of feel like, and I don't know why, but it seems like it would be better to have. Well, I know you said it's about doing it regularly, but starting out when people might want to be indoors for it. So I feel like it should be when the weather is cooler than, but I think
We have to do it soon.
either soon or we have to wait until the fall. Well, why don't I do a little Googling and see what,
Do Google it.
okay. I will do that.
Okay. All right, speaking of Karen, you have an update on the town web pages?
Yes.
We can, you can get together too, and
Okay.
talk through how we
Yeah.
run it.
Let's
instead of
do it.
everything spilled. Yeah.
Okay.
Say, do we need drinks, do we need tables,
Yeah.
map it out.
That would be great. That would be fun. Well, we haven't thought that far
You have to
along.
think about-
It might depend on if it's sold out with residents or not.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people outside of town to come to this?
We don't people there.
Yeah, sure.
I'm only half of them.
We could have a beer versus.
I'd start by worrying if anybody's gonna come.
Right, I was actually,
Yeah.
I said we should be so lucky.
Right.
Okay, so website. I met with Cinsto. I don't believe that the website, I didn't go through the whole thing. What I started with, I decided that I'm gonna section this off and update things as we go. I met with Cindy to go over the website about pickleball with her. And if you're familiar with the website, it's got Parks and Rec is at the top, and then on the sidebar, it lists certain things like tennis, pickleball, a virtual Parks and Rec. There's a number of things down there that need to be revisited. I know we talked about, should we add information on Little League or soccer or adult softball, but I said, let's start with one thing, get that done, and we'll just continue to revamp it, because the beauty with the web is you can always change it and revise it. So I don't know if this needs a vote or what process we need to go through, but essentially, Cindy and I met, and the goals were for pickleball was to provide easier access to pickleball and tennis information for town residents. If you haven't been to the site, and Patty, we don't have a screen that we can use to show you guys, but there's really very limited information. So we also thought this would be a great opportunity to increase awareness of the court usage system. So once we get the rules in place, then we would also have these rules up there. And all of the information up there on the pickleball tennis is all about COVID rules. So we said we need to update all the information post-COVID. That needs to all be revamped.
You say we, who said that? You and.
Cindy and I met. Just us. We meaning the collective we, the royal we.
Okay.
What do you think?
Because I asked for one little thing and I just totally got blocked. Because even like on the application for field use, it says you still have to wear masks on the field, things like that.
And who did you ask for that? Was it
It's just,
Gary.
Gary?
yeah, or and also there's what's her name?
Taylor.
Taylor. Taylor. Different position.
So let me know, because I had emailed Carrie last month and said, I'm gonna start working on this. I'd love to meet you. And I figured that, and she was busy actually doing the ADU stuff for us. This is when I contacted her. So she was like, great, let me know, sort of thing. So we can coordinate having that there. And so essentially the recommendations that Cindy and I have is we actually think tennis and pickleball should have their own page. Even though they use the same courts, they should have their own page. And then within pickleball. Pardon?
You click on it.
So imagine if you go to Parks and Rec, you'd have on the sidebar, it would say tennis, it would pickleball, Alpine Little League, you'd have, and so when you click on that, you go to a page that's about that, and it may provide, such as pickleball will, so the first thing is we get rid of every single existing link that's on there. We went through them and they're all COVID related.
Yeah.
So it's like a blank slate. And then we would create the new pickleball section, would have an overview of pickleball and PB, and then it would link to the site that Cindy has. It's a PB pickleball site. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we just let people go there for that. We'd have the court sign up link. We would have a link to the updated version of the town facility use rules, which need to be updated.
So we might need to talk about, I'm not sure I want this to get a link on there. So if we introduce the fact that we have to, only residents can make reservations, I have to filter people who get on SCADA because I have to have their address. So we can talk about that.
We need to talk about that because in the night, I mean, ideally, you want people to be able to, this is where we need to figure out how to have this be less manually administrative, but yeah.
I think
Okay.
we want to link on the website, town website can make reservations. And
But if it's only for residents, we need a filter.
yeah, but there's all kinds of things in reservation systems that only let you do it if you sign in. Right? You
But
just
if,
have-
when they sign in, if John Meyer signs in, I need your address to be able to tag you as a resident.
Yeah.
So then you have a rule.
Yeah, I mean, so you register. It's like most websites, you register, you have a, username and password. And in the registration process, you would have put in your address.
But then someone has to say that's a resident or a non-resident.
That's what Rebecca does with the forum.
Yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that
Okay,
one.
well, this is what we were thinking
Yeah,
would be
yeah, yeah,
ideal.
yeah.
So you have, and then what we realized is the, as I said, the, town facility use rules need to be updated. But that would be there, and then a link, again, to an updated application for the use of town fields, tennis courts, et cetera, because that application right now does not include a section for the tennis courts.
Yeah, so we can think about
So
that.
that needs to get updated.
Yeah.
And then, that would be essentially what you have on pickleball. What are you thinking? And I should show a visual of this next time.
Don't want. Court usage policy hidden by the.
Oh. So you would prefer that instead of, that it be just run out, right out there?
Like you
on-
click on pickleball and then you're going to a new page, right? I think like. On that page, those link from that page should be. The court usage. Or at least modified.
Yeah.
And you can like, we can tweak the language such that's like modified for pickleball, where it's like. Pickleball, you have court 1. You can't. You're not allowed to go on court 2 until. Court 1 is full. You're on court 2, the tennis player shows up. You gotta bail. And then the similar thing. And we, yeah, similar.
Oh, I'm
similar
sorry.
voice.
Okay, so yes, so court information, text about court sign up and usage policies would be, that would be the text. And then there's a link to the reservation system,
Right.
because it's separate, but yes,
Okay,
yes, I'm sorry.
you said there was a link to the usage, I didn't.
Yeah, no, a link to the reservation system. So
And then link to the link that's gonna be saying.
right, right.
Whatever,
There's a-
National Pickleball Association.
Yeah. And then tennis would have a new section, which would have the overview of tennis. And it would talk about the Port Madera tennis team and what the season is and all of that, so people are aware of that. And then it would have the court sign up information and usage policies listed. And then the link to SCADA. And Patty and I need to discuss that. It would basically have those same links. So it would have the facility use rules and then the application that you would need if you're renting it out for a league or an event, which we talked about that the leagues right now are doing that. And the documents that need to get updated by the town are the facility use rules and the application. So, but I don't know, like, if we need to vote on this, or we go to Carrie, or if you guys want to see it all, like a mock-up of it. What do you, because if we have or we need to show it, you need to look at what's there.
Well, what's the town policy on what page?
I think we can, just anyone can ask for changes.
Why don't you have Carrie, we can have Carrie put in the changes, but then just put it on a test page so that we look at it.
Okay.
Like she definitely, you know, she didn't make it live until we said go live.
Okay,
And then maybe next month we could look at what it looks like.
okay.
I can be redundant.
And what I'll do is I'll put in as a placeholder the current, your current proposal
Yeah.
there, and then that will change that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, let's do that. And then hopefully we'll have a screen and we can show you. Okay,
It'd be great.
so that's sort of where we are on that. It's one piece. at a
Yeah, I
time.
think that's great.
John, we can sit
Yeah,
and
we
talk
can
about
definitely,
it.
get all the roles kind of out there. It'd be great too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for doing that. Okay, California State Grant, haven't heard anything. From that, I made first culture, haven't heard anything. I could care less. Nobody's still online. And that's that. The only other, new thing that came up was I was contacted by Howard. And I wrote in John a little bit, and they are entering into discussions with Alpine Inn on the parking issue. And wanted my input on, you know, what the problems were, and told them it wasn't anything new, it's that our soccer leagues are minimizing their use of the field, and because they can't get parking for their players, coaches, refs, etc. And then it's hurting our league, and it's hurting the town in terms of field usage.
Yeah.
So
What is the policy with that parking lot?
there is no policy. The town owns like half, 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that.
So they basically lease the parking lot from us, the town.
Do they use it?
I think they said that.
Well, they have an agreement to use it. They don't pay us.
With Alpine Inn, so that people can drive through the property to get out in and out. That's really
Of the town parking lot.
But how much of the, yeah, where's the town, where's the delineation of what?
Well,
there's
it's
a
good
big
enough
part-
right now, but the part that's reserved is, 1/3, 1/4 of the.
It's not even a third of the ward. I don't-
There is a property line.
Yeah.
And so we're specifically got the Alpine is using, because it's town property, that means that they can use it.
Right, right.
Anybody park anywhere,
Right,
you know, in a parking lot, until you set up, I'll call and that's.
Well, or until you set a way to manage it.
Yeah.
And in the past, they've hired somebody to try and, keep people from parking, which is a problem because, it's just maybe a little teenage kid that goes out there.
right.
Monitor parking, and our problem is, if people can't park in a lot, they park on ours to their home, or they park on Alpine, which is a huge safety issue. In fact, I told Howard, if he hadn't already, we needed to loop in the safety committee, because I know it's been on their agenda many times.
My view is, I think also Alpine took a relatively aggressive position.
Yeah.
Right. That's, well, if you want to do anything, then you guys need to do all this improvement work for us. There was one part. And secondly, they sort of just saying things like, well, that the main users are Alpine strikers, and they're not really most of them are residents, right? Of course, they counter that as neither their customers, right? But nonetheless, and I think what happened was Alpine strikers kind of didn't want to create a conflict. Like they were more willing to just say, well, we have.
But that's a generalized field plan.
So that's.
Almost seems like they need to have temporary fencing or something, some way that delineates the.
But then
It's
you still
not
have
restaurant
somebody
parking.
there to manage.
Yeah. They can afford it.
This is also the aggressive position. I was saying to the Alpine strikers people, I'm like, look, these are venture capitalists, right? They're gonna be aggressive, they're not gonna just come and be nice, play nice.
So just, you know, just, you gotta just be thoughtful, you know, in a way that says, we find out what the contract is, right? What's legal, what's not legal, treat them like business people. But again, they didn't wanna do that now, not to say that, I'm playing, I think, in, homeowners probably were trying to be, you know, in their minds, nice, you know, a little bit. But it's still a stop when it became clear that it was gonna be somewhat confrontational. And the Alpine Circus just were trying to appease. in my opinion.
Well, I don't know what's gonna happen.
The Alpine Strikers, but I'll show the Fourth of July. For Alpine, yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but I was asked to give my point of view to take it. One other quick thing, I have been asked. We have been asked as a town to read this land acknowledgement to all of our committee members. The town of Portola Valley acknowledges the colonial history of this land we dwell upon. The unceded territory of the Ramaytush, Ohlone, Commendation, and Malarekma, Ohlone, who endured a human and cultural genocide that included removal from their lands and their sacred relationship to the land. Portola Valley recognizes that we profit from the commodification of land seized from indigenous peoples and now bear the ecological consequences. We seek to understand the impact of these legacies on all beings and to find ways to make repair.
Yeah.
If you have any comments, I'd love to hear it. I've been asked to provide comment back to the Race and Equity Committee.
Right, we tell them we should have a combination. Right.
I think, are we supposed to be reading it at the beginning of the meeting?
I think we are.
I think I've seen it, I've heard it at the beginning of the meeting, but other than, I have no comments, you did a lovely job. But I don't.
My comment to Lucy was, is that supposed to make me feel guilty, which I do? Or is that supposed to make us make different decisions in Parks and Rec because we obviously have stewardship of a lot of the land that they are referencing? I don't think the answer is no to neither, but just a recognition of we live on land that we took from other people.
We should allow them to have a tribal ceremony one day. If they want it.
The only phrase that I have caught me was find ways to make it fair. I'm not sure what it sounds like reparations. Sure.
You can have a beer that you don't.
I'm not sure that we're really going to take action.
Okay.
But
How did you feel the discussion with the court usage policy?
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it went really well. I was actually expecting more controversy than there seemed to be.
Yeah, I think the football players really rolled over for that tennis. player.
Are we, is our meeting done? Or not?
Right?
That's where I started. It's like, are you guys okay with this? And the answer was, yeah, I want this.
Any other comments for the official meeting?
Well, one of the gentlemen there was saying how the pickleballers all like to get together and socialize. That sounds like a game night to me. I mean, as they play.
Pickleball trivia.
Well, I mean, really, just there's a group that kind of does.
They're very social. We got a lot of social events, so.
Cindy Rowe has done an absolutely amazing job with that group and her inclusivity and the events that she runs around the holidays. The round robins are so fun. And it's a really nice thing in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing else, call meeting adjourned.
So,
No, I have a second motion.
Wait, Dave,
in
has something.
the usage recommendation, there was some language that I can't find anymore about. Yeah, the PD Parks and Rec classes and clinics. CNS and other town approved use have priority. So what are the Parks and Rec classes and clinics? Is that Cindy's class?
The pickleball classes, yeah, tennis classes. if
And
you
what does
have-
that mean, have priority? Does that mean she can reserve outside of the 9 to 11 reservation?
Yes.
Yeah, she reserves in advance if those classes are through the town.
It's usually 3 to 5 or 1 to 3 on the afternoon.
It's like the other
No.
class.
So how's that being charged?
Charged?
I think she fills out that form, that facilities.
She does not, right?
Oh,
She works with the town.
That's my
Oh,
point. If she's
I
not
don't-
doing that, we should probably consider starting.
Well, the people pay for the classes, is that what you're wondering?
yeah,
So
they,
it's
they're
different
through the
classes.
class.
They pay the town for the
So
classes.
there's classes, but then there's the whole big group, but then there's also this league play. Right, and the classes go through it like essentially some classroom instructor in the building over here. Right.
So instead of renting the community room, she's renting.
Except I don't think she's renting.
She's,
I don't think they rent it. I'm sure.
they pay, the town is getting the money for it.
Right.
They pay the town, the participants.
It goes through the town.
It goes through the town, and there's a fee that goes
It's the
to the
league
town.
playing it or not.
Right.
And they actually have their leagues to start there.
They have 7 teams. Cindy told me there's 7 teams. I think there's
For the league classes?
No.
No, the league is just, they're having games, you know, they play, there's 6 or 7 teams in this league.
There's Premier and then there's a league or something.
And they're only going to be able to play like 9/11?
No, this is, they're outside of that.
Question, but I think right now, like, it has to be doing the reserving the court.
Yes,
So they're
they
gonna,
are.
so what the league's gonna,
When this happens, yeah. I have no idea, that's what I was.
Well, they can request to us, to me, to reserve the league player, we can approve or deny it.
So like, if there's a team of 8, 2 league members who are PV residents can reserve courts.
between 9 and 11
In the morning, yeah.
in the morning.
I don't know when they.
Right, I usually play.
And they,
That's my,
yeah, the other
That's
thing
my
is
word.
that they have matches. And so they're, do you know when their matches are, John? Do you play on the, in the?
I chose, I'm not playing with it because there was a schedule came out and I literally couldn't. Miss it. So,
Okay.
Because it's like a lot of them on Mondays, what there happens to be.
I think it's called Peninsula Pickleball. I'll send you, am I allowed to do that to
The person that's
somebody?
doing it is Mark Emerson, also for, he's got another, they're all kind of, I think they're a competing league, but they play at Alpine Hills. And center, like this is kind of,
so this will destroy that league.
Yeah, I was surprised.
No, wait, Alpine plays, so Portola Valley has its teams in this league, whatever it's called like the Peninsula Pickleball League or something.
Right, but they will only be able to reserve courts to schedule games between 9 and 11.
Unless they petition to me or to this committee.
And if they,
But that's-
if they fill out, but if they fill out the facilities use form, then they are one of these groups in here. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what, yes.
Where was that?
Groups may request from the Park Recreation an extended reservation for a specific purpose, special event replay.
And other town approved uses. So if they go through the town and they apply for the use and they get approved, then
all I can think is they must be thinking that most of these people here, a lot of them are going to be in that same league. And they are going to just use court one, you know, like they, for the league.
Well, that's what Taryn's big issue was, because she reserved like 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 times a week, and she's a very advanced player.
But they report right now, so they can.
No, I don't think nobody else is on. No, I didn't say anything. I mean, I just.
no, I guess we're not supposed to have a meeting unless we.
I think.
It was a good,
I think the issue, I think Cindy is
Two
trying
by
to
herself,
keep
girl.
things very inclusive and that everybody can play. And the league has created, there's a lot of non-residents on the
Yeah.
PB team.
Yeah.
And they're using the courts, which
Yeah.
is at the detriment for
Which
residents.
is one reason we went to
Yeah.
what we came up with here.
Yeah.
Which is, I think if leagues want to be able to, sure, they bring it back to this committee and we look at it just like the state of fields.
It's fair to say it should be, sent out.
Well, we've made it easy for them just to dominate the courts and they can't do anything.
This is my starting point. But the application says court field use. Yeah.
Yeah. it does.
The problem is it's just gonna be a lot of money. I mean, come on, zero. For the softball, I mean, like $15,000.
Well,
It.
It's a certain amount per player for each season, right? And what is the amount per?
$62.
Yes, dozens of dollars. Like, if you're adult or youth, if you're league or not.
But I hope they add it, so that would be just.
It'd be an adult league, but
Yeah.
it's only $90 I bet.
So.
Cindy doesn't think that the price will be an issue for these league players.
Well, no, not for the, when they sign, because, yeah, I mean, they're actually already charging. Okay, it's only like $25. So that would be $85. They probably would push it through. As long as it's that. Pickup. All right, so second. But it would go from $25 to, I mean, this is why it's $130 for all.